to arrest violent criminals who could kill you and do kill you sometimes. And then you arrest the violent criminal, and then the DA, doesn't prosecute, and that's let the guy out. Well, then, like, why should a police officer risk their life to arrest a violent felon?
Well, even worse, Elon,
nothing's going to happen.
Even worse, they prosecute the police officer. They go after it, and they prosecute the police officer, and they take away his pension, they take away his job, he loses his family, he loses his house.
Well, I thought it was very telling, like incredibly telling, that when there was that case where sort of a gang of thugs beat up police officers. I think it was in Times Square in New York.
Yeah,
and
you know about it, man.
And then nothing happened to those guys. They were let out, zero bail, and I think a bunch of them were given free tickets to California. Well, what is I mean, that is a gross indignity against the United States, and that's how. I mean, this is insane. Like, have we lost all pride? How can such a thing be allowed to occur?
I've never seen anything. We see where they get shot. It's a very dangerous profession, but it's something they're very proud of, and they want to be able to do their job. But I've seen them get shot. I've seen a lot of things. But I've never seen where these guys are standing in the middle of a big street, everybody watching them, and they're literally boxing, like punching, stand-up fighting a police officer. There were two of them. And you had about six of these guys, and they're punching the hell out of them. And in their own country, they would be dead if they did that. They'd be shot.
Yes.
They would be shot instantly. And, they come from these countries, and it's taking them a while to realize that we don't do that in this country. But in their own country, if they stood on a street and had a fight with a police officer, they would be shot. There's no political correctness. And it's such a sad, it's such a sad thing to see. And that's the reason you have crime, by the way, because we don't do anything about it.
And
we just cannot have a situation where our police officers are beaten up on camera by a gang of illegal immigrants, and then nothing happens to the guys that beat up the cops, and they're let out. This is unacceptable.
Well, we're going to change it, and we're going to get them out of the country. When I first got involved, they said you couldn't get them back to these countries. You couldn't take them back. In the case of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, some others, you couldn't get them back. And I said, really? Oh, you can't get them back? Because under Obama, he couldn't get them back. They'd fly them in, and they'd put planes on the runways in these countries so you couldn't land a plane. They'd bring them back. And the generals told me, sir, we can't bring them back. The countries won't accept MS-13 gang members. They won't accept them. And I said, really, how much do we pay these various countries in terms of economic aid, which is also somewhat ridiculous? And the answer was $750 million. I said, good. Tell them they're in default. They're delinquent. We're not paying them anymore because they won't accept it. And you know what happened? They all called me, every one of them. They said, we would be honored to take them back, sir. We would be honored.
Yeah. I want Madeline, you said this is actually happening.
Every single day. Every single day. Every single day. It's, I commute every day on the Long Island Railroad into Penn Station, 34th Street, right? And this is in Midtown Manhattan. And this is where they dumped all of the illegals in all these 5-star hotels. Midtown Manhattan, Times Square, 42nd Street, Herald Square, used to be the tourist capital of the world. People are coming here for vacation, during Christmas time, to see the ball drop, during the summer to go shopping, Broadway to see the shows. First of all, Black Lives Matter, those riots, all right? They destroyed our city, all right? A lot of the businesses closed and left. Then we had COVID, all right? And a lot of the rest of the businesses just left. All right, just left the city, period. It was abandoned. And when we came back to work, when the city opened back up, we had all these illegals, people just laying all over the sidewalks. Eric Adams actually herded the Africans, the West Africans, behind barricades on the sidewalk like cattle, all right, and had them laying on there with those silver blankets. Did anybody see that when they had the kids in the cages? Okay, this is how these West Africans lived for a few months. You're right. They put the Hispanics into the 5-star hotels first. All right, they gave them all the services, all the services, and left the West Africans outside. The West Africans are still outside. They're still outside. They moved them up to Harlem, and they moved some of them to Queens and to Brooklyn. All right, but the Hispanics have taken over, Manhattan, and they have no respect for the police whatsoever.
Let me ask you, because we have a commenter here who is saying, she says, Quarter Crawley says, hello, there are dirty cops. Let's be clear.
Well, yeah, I mean,
there are some dirty cops.
though. I mean,
You're gonna have that everywhere. You're gonna have dirty cops everywhere.
doctors. Come on now. You know, we don't say get rid of all medical services because there's some bad doctors who have malpractice suits. Right.
The institution of
Go ahead.
The institution of policing is a microcosm of society, just like every other profession. Yes, industry. You will find some bad apples. And it is true that when you find a bad apple in the police department, it can be particularly dangerous. However, to paint the institution with a broad look, you wouldn't be able to walk outside if all cops were dirty. Okay.
Yep.
The other thing is the significance of Elon doing that interview is the way America is going, again, on a Marxist trajectory. We're not going to look like the Soviet Union. We're going to look like South Africa. And Elon knows it, okay? And if you look at what's happening in South Africa, there are a lot of parallels to what's going on in the United States today. A lot of racial strife, okay, built on their history. There's a crisis of competence that looks a lot like DEI here, all right? Where they can't even run desalination plants effectively, which is where they get their water. They got to call in the Germans for help with that because they tried, like Zimbabwe, giving away some farmland. People didn't know what the hell to do with it. So we're in danger of looking like that in 20 years. And Elon, being a South African, he knows this.
I want to add to Tyrone. I don't know if y'all are aware about the controversy behind the stream, how the EU sent Elon Musk a warning that they're going to potentially prosecute him if he airs this interview. Now, why would the EU be able to tell the United States to censor themselves? This goes back to something a lot of us said a while back about the propaganda, the censorship, and trying to socially engineer us to be a certain way. They don't even want Europeans to hear what Trump is saying because of what's happening in the UK right now.
Tyrone, to your point about South Africa, I thought also, the Chinese are heavily, I guess I would say, infiltrated in Africa as well. So there's that part of that communist angle too. So,
yeah. And it's scary stuff. And this is, again, why the Marxists, why the Democrat Party pushes this idea of race baiting, of, this DEI, pushing this idea of black against white, oppressed against oppressor, and things like that. Because then, as you mentioned, this is what they're already doing in South Africa. So this is a way to push Marxism, reach us on a level of racial identity, of class identity, and then they can divide us up as Marxists do. That we had a Ferguson, Missouri police chief speak out, I believe it was yesterday, regarding the violent protests that are happening in Ferguson again, due to the 10th anniversary of the fatal shooting of Michael Brown. This is what Democrat policies push.
My team got out there and was assaulted by a number of the protesters that were out there on the scene. As a result, one of my police officers suffered a severe brain injury. He is at an area hospital right now, fighting for his life. And I'm gonna break away a little bit from what I was planning to talk about. This police department, this Ferguson Police Department, since 2014, has been a punching bag for this community. The police department back in 2014, we don't even have them officers here anymore. So what are you protesting? These officers not even here no more. Everything that the activist community has advocated for, as far as body-worn cameras, implicit bias training, crisis intervention training, all this stuff, we have done all of this. What are we protesting? What is it? We even changed the uniforms at this police department because people said that the old uniforms trigger people. What are we doing?
What are you
10 years later, I got an officer fighting for his life. It's enough, and I'm done with it. We're not doing it here in Ferguson. Our community is united behind us. Our community is fed up. We want to heal. Our community want to heal. We want people to peacefully protest, but we damn sure ain't going to allow you to destroy this city, and we ain't going to allow you to hurt none of these police officers.
What are they protesting for?
They don't even know. All they have are worked up emotions because somebody has put a boogeyman in their mind that the police are the enemies. Not to mention that their communities, by and large, are the ones that are being destroyed by people that look like each other themselves. These police officers, God, I hope that man recovers. They're the ones who really stand in the gap between utter 100% chaos and keeping people safe to the best of their ability. Mm-hmm. But these idiots, these worked up emotions. Let me tell you something. People are dangerous when they are only running on emotion. People are dangerous. Watch out for people who only go off of emotion. They are some of the dangerous people, and I don't give a damn what their skin color is. They are dangerous.
Tyrone, we have here a situation. We know Kamala bailed out most of the protesters. Yeah. What was it? 2016? Or no, I'm sorry, 2020. Her running mate, we were talking about this last week.
Minnesota, yeah.
Put a video out talking about his wife says she loved to hear the burning. She loved to smell the rubber of the burning tires as these people set Minnesota on fire.
That's evil.
What is this? Why are people voting for this?
That's so evil.
Listen, I'm glad that police chief strayed away from his prepared remarks. We were talking about masculinity earlier. He went in that direction. And that's what a society needs. All right. I was talking to a friend, and we were thinking about, okay, what if the left got their way and there were no police? And he and I were remarking that, okay, well, sure, we could get along fine, but it would be a full-time job because it would be a constant battle with evil that we could not outsource to a police department. We have to take care of it ourselves. And that's just for starters. Think about the elderly, children, defenseless people. So the police are absolutely necessary. But again, if you're a Marxist and your mission is chaos, then you're going to protest, even though you've already gotten everything you requested. We see that. Look, I'm trying to figure out what Black people are still fighting for. I mean, we got voting rights. We got a president. As a Black person in the space station right now. So what more do we want? They'll get you on, well, voting rights. You got this idiot, this minstrel. What's the guy with the radio show? Ricky Smiley, talking about still fighting battles that we won in the 40s. Okay. So the mindset of the Marxists is to continue to wage battles and not recognize when you've won. That's why that protest occurred. But that stuff has to stop. Hopefully they'll apprehend whoever assaulted that officer and prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah. Look, you're never going to satisfy these demons. You're just not going to do it. And what I would like to know about Ferguson is, where are the fathers in those homes? I'd like to know the rate about that. I'd like to know, because it's a culture. This is a culture issue. You know, I want to know how many fathers are out of the homes in that community, because that's something that, you know, I guarantee is correlated to the violence that keeps continuing and perpetuating over there. Nobody wants to talk about it, though.